The following podcast is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Connect, Australia's newest choice for event management and brand development specialising in pro wrestling.
And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The Moose.
B plus.
Ladies, gents, non-binary friends, welcome to this edition of the Impact Zone. We are back here at the B Plus talking about Impact Wrestling. I'm your host, Mr Myster1ous, and this is going to be a wondrous episode because we're back. We had a little bit of a week break, and it's good to talk about Impact Wrestling again. Impact, through my times here with the B Plus, has become one of my favorite promotions to talk about. It's slowly gotten better and better, and now it's at that point where a lot of stuff is happening, and it's on the rise. And if you are listening to this, you feel it's on the rise too, so I'm happy to talk to you about that, and I'm going to be talking to you guys as well, not only about the latest taping, but of course, the Impact Plus exclusive events. We have Unbreakable, where we crowned a new number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship, and Starstruck at California. I'll go through those events or through all those matches as well, I should say. We have a lot to discuss. Most of it great, some of it I'm a bit questionable about. Other stuff, we'll see how it pans out. But for the most part, this has been a solid week for Impact Wrestling. It's been their California summer tour, I believe it is. It's been very successful and timed out very well. We've got Rhino back. Spoiler alert! If you haven't listened from a couple weeks ago, or you haven't been following news for the past month, the cat's out of the bag now. Rhino is officially a part of the Impact Wrestling roster. He's had a few matches under his belt now on Unbreakable and Starstruck. We'll see him on one of the tapings and Subpoint in the next couple weeks. Sure, it's going to be a very great time. I'm very much looking forward to what Impact have in store for Rhino, and I'll be able to answer the question for you guys. Can he still go in his 40s after being sidelined to catering in WWE without paying six-figure salary just to sit around and do nothing? Yes is the short answer, but I'll get to the long answer in just a little bit. So how about I get through the latest taping of Impact Wrestling. So we are in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, and we start out with a big number one contenders match for the X Division Championship. It's a big six-man match. You have Wentz versus Aiden Prince versus Rohit Raju versus Chuck Mumbo versus Cody Deaner versus Petey Williams. Where would we be in Canada without Petey Williams? This has become the norm now for Impact Wrestling. It's just a big, explosive, get all your X Division cruiserweights out there to create some magic and just see what sticks. That's essentially what's happened over the past few weeks. I'm okay with it now. I will say, so of all the names in here for the number one contendership, you can kind of tell who's going to be winning, because Chuck Mumbo, complete unknown. You have Wentz and Rohit Raju and Cody Deaner. They're all part of tag teams, so they're out of the race right from there. So it's going to be a hometown boy. It's either Petey Williams or Aiden Prince, and Petey Williams did win a shot a while back. So by process of elimination, you can see what's happened here. Nevertheless, this is actually a pretty entertaining six-man brawl. From the bell ringing, Raju went straight for Deaner, slapped him across the face. That rivalry is still going on. All the men disappeared out to the outside of the ring except for Mumbo and Williams. They had a back and forth. It was just to showcase the best of the high flyers of their respective tag teams. There was a nice little moment where Cody Deaner and Petey Williams, they're about to do double suicide dives, but Cody Deaner made sure that Petey Williams had the Canadian flag on him like a cape. when they did a big little superhero landing, which I really enjoyed that. Chuck Mumbo surprised me. I'm going to actually have to look him up some more in the independent scene. He pulled off some really great stuff. Really worked well. Like, a lot of the match never faltered, which I'm really happy with. Williams was about to do his patented Canadian Destroyer on Wentz. Raju pushed him out of the way to cover Wentz. Then Wentz kicked out at 2. Prince dropped Mambo and then went to the top rope to land a 450. He covers Mambo and gets the win. It was a pretty cool, like, brain buster 450 combination. It was actually pretty cool. So your new number 1 contender for Jake Crist's X Division Championship, Aiden Prince. And I'm very interested to see how Jake Crist's run is with the X Division title and his relationship now with OVE. So we cut to outside, where the OVE clan, cult, whatever you want to call them, are discussing Jake's win from last week. Jake tells his family that there will be hell to pay if anyone tries to take the title off him, even touch it, even like take it away from him. Sammy's thinking like he's mucking around, give it over. He's like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is the most important thing that's ever happened to me. Sammy's just saying, you have a wife and children. The most important thing to ever happen to me. This was made even better by his brother just going, yeah, that checks out. Like, Dave Crist has just become this sardonic, like, he's just sick of Sami Callihan shit at this point. He's just like, he's not condoning what Jake is doing, but he's just like, yeah, that tracks. That sounds about right. But Sami Callihan, he seems to be on the same page with Jake for now. They're actually teasing. It's interesting to see after months and months and months of Jake Crist being the little clone of Sami Callihan. Now that he's got some gold behind him, he's getting a little confident. He's getting a little cocky. I kind of like it. It's a nice little dynamic. Like, they're teasing that maybe there might be a little bit of anarchy in the ranks at some point. But for now, it's kind of cute. It's like they're just kind of one-upping each other, which I find entertaining. So pretty much Sami Callihan takes over, says no one cares. There's a bigger issue, and that's Tessa Blanchard. He then releases Madman Fulton. He goes behind a steel cage as if he was in jail and just like telling the Chris brothers, open the cage, and he'll be facing Tessa Blanchard tonight. Very solid stuff. Backstage, you have Tessa is making her way into the building. Rich Swann tries to stop her and tell her he believes in her, but don't do this match. Fulton is a psychopath. OVE a psychopath. I should know. Warns her to be careful. He tries to offer his assistance. Tessa's like, I need to do this on my own. Tessa is doing it for the entire women's division, just for herself, just to prove that like women are all that and then some in Impact Wrestling, which, you know what? I love it. I love how this story has progressed with Tessa. She's now the golden girl of their ranks. Pretty much I think she's the most over person on the roster, I'm not going to lie, by design. So looking forward to that intergender match. But unfortunately, there is another intergender match on this episode of Impact Wrestling. And this is Havoc versus Johnny Bravo. Now, fortunately, this was a quick squash. But I would have hoped, like, did we really need this? I don't think we needed this at all. Because this could have gone to another person on the Knockouts roster. This could have gone to another woman to face off against Havoc. I mean, it's helping the storyline with Taya. I'll touch on that throughout the episode. But I didn't need to see it. It's just, from the get-go, Bravo is still trying to seduce Havoc after last week. Apparently the E stands for erotic after his talk with Scarlett Bordeaux last month, and he still believes that, so he's trying to show a little bit of skin, show a little bit of chest hair, and try and seduce Havoc. He's insane. He's insane for the better part. Havoc takes the lead, tosses him all around the ring, lifts him up. Bravo sticks his fingers in her eye. That's the only bit of offense he really got. Havoc ended the match with a choke slam. She gets the win. After the match, though, Su Yung appears on the screen and starts talking. This is serious. Like, granted, it was in a different language, but she's actually talking. she's showing character. What did she say? I can't tell you. It seemed like it was a very sing-song voice that she was talking in. It might have been a poem. It might have been like a warning, like an eerie omen. Like the message was clear. Like she's coming for havoc. Like she's coming for, like, maybe not just havoc. I'm very curious. The fact that there's personality behind Soo Young, the undead bride. Finally, her makeup's different. Just from this little thing here, I'm actually really excited for what is in store for Soo Young. The Knockouts division has, in 2019, it's now become the hub and the poster promotion for women's wrestling by default, because All Elite Wrestling, they haven't started just yet. Like, they're obviously, their big thing is tag team wrestling and women's wrestling, and they're going to have women's title and women's tag team titles. So they're going to be leading the charge, like in 2020. They're in the coming months. They're going to be like the number one. But for now, you look at the landscape, like WWE, their biggest failings are the women's division and the tag team division, especially, unfortunately, the women's tag team division. I'm sorry, Iconics, I love you. I would love to see you actually wrestle. That's just me. But you look at other promotions like Ring of Honor, their Women of Honor division, it's shit. It's absolute trash. New Japan doesn't have a women's division. MLW doesn't have a women's division. Pretty much, like, yes, you have your promotions like Shine, Rise, Shimmer, and those have some of the best women's wrestling in the world. More people should watch it. But if you're looking at the more mainstream, like your top level, like streamed promotions, Impact are leading the charge by default, and they've kind of realized this now, where there's a bit of a promo going around saying, like, I believe. It's kind of has the same vibe as I Have a Dream, Martin Luther King. I actually really dig it. They play it in this taping. They play it in Unbreakable and Starstruck. I love it. I absolutely love it. And this is the angle they should be taking. That they're actually realizing that they need to be their own thing. And if they can only, I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase this, but like if Tessa's going to move to AEW eventually, like they just need to make her this absolute juggernaut in the Impact Wrestling division, so that if she does choose to leave, then everyone will remember her more for Impact than AEW, and that'll take a long time to shake, and then they can work on the next knockout or the next star, like maybe in the male division. Like Impact Wrestling, I am very much looking forward to what you have in store, and the trajectory is only going up. You have to know it's only getting better, and more people need to watch this. So after the Soo Young promo, getting back to the taping itself, the North are talking about their strategy for tonight, defending their titles against the Rascals. This is the North and like Josh Alexander, Ethan Page. These guys are crushing it. Like they have filled the void of Santana being injured of LAX so well. They are pushing these guys so hard. And granted, this is a pre-taped episode, but to give you guys an idea, the main event for this taping, for Unbreakable and for Starstruck, were for the Impact Tag Team Championships. They are investing so much time in these guys. They are trusting them to lead the brand, and these guys are grabbing it by the horns. They are like taking the ball. They're running the whole 9 yards. They are kicking ass right now. It's great to see Ethan Page just have this whole complete character change. Like he's still an asshole. He's still like all ego, but he's just got that much more fire. And Josh Alexander is an absolute beast. I'll touch on that later, but man, absolutely loving it. We have another match now. Did someone say adventure? No, but it's great to see you, Stone Rockwell. He comes out to the ring to talk to the fans, to introduce himself and tell you what he's all about. Being adventurous. I'll save you, damsel. That's pretty much it. He has a match against Ace Austin. So before the bell rings, Austin goes right for the attack on Rockwell. Rockwell counters back a bit. Like he's a big boy. He's all showboating. Like he has a nice couple of like moves that can subdue Ace Austin for a little while. But eventually Austin connects with a back kick and then the fold. 1, 2, 3. Austin picks up the victory. You notice that aside from the starting match and the main event, all these matches are like very, very quick. They don't go for more than maybe 5 minutes, which is bizarre, especially for an episode of Impact Wrestling. So, winner is Ace Austin. He's going to celebrate on the entrance ramp, but afterwards, Eddie Edwards meets Austin halfway and attacks him from behind after Austin tried to hit on his wife last week. I miss 1 week of Impact Wrestling, and all of a sudden, everything's like that. So, I don't know if I'm agreeing with this. This is a little bit. I wanted a character change from Eddie Edwards. Like, yes, I do want a character change, but I thought he'd get more psychotic. I thought he'd get more violent. Like, yes, like, but he's just like, back off my girl. Like, back. That's his whole thing. Like, why is his wife still with him? It's like, I thought by now that she would have, like, he distanced himself after he pretty much bit off Killer Cross's face, right? How is she still with him? Like, if that's the angle they could go for, maybe Alicia is finally she says it's over, then seeing Ace, and then Ace and Eddie fight. Like, the way they're going about it is bizarre to me. Like, granted, yes, Eddie is changing, but it's not by much. It's more. It could have been motivated purely by the fact that he defeated Killer Cross after lots of psychological torture in a first blood match. But now his character's changing. Like, after snapping Kenny as well. Like, after all that, but now he's being motivated by, like, someone hitting on his wife, who is probably going to be his ex-wife soon in storyline, if he keeps up whatever he's doing. I don't know. It's bafflingly. Impacts can. I don't know the direction this is going. I'm hoping that it corrects itself. And regardless, Eddie Edwards is changing into something. What it is, we'll have to wait and see. But for right now, color me confused, ladies and gentlemen. Backstage, we have Tessa Blanchard getting ready for a match again. Madison Rayne introduces herself as the locker room leader. Pretty much the quote going around: if you call yourself the locker room leader, you ain't the locker room leader. That's pretty much all you have to say about that. But Madison is implying that it's great that you're doing this for everybody in the women's division. She was going to say, it seemed like she was going to say she might even accompany her to the ring, but Blanchard tells her to leave her alone. And then Madison, the moment that Tessa's out of the ring, she's just like, you're dead. It's like, you're going to die against Madman. After the break, we have Alicia and Eddie get into argument about what Eddie just did. He's thinking, like, are you seeing Ace? Like, is it Ace now? Like, yeah. And again, very confused about it all. During this whole kerfuffle of a thing, it was a weird transition that they did. So they had a break, and apparently in that break, so Stone Rockwell never left the ring. Moose came out to the ring and speared Stone Rockwell, his no jackhammer required spear. Back to the ring, Moose is on the microphone. It was a weird transition. I don't know if it was down to production or timing. I don't know. Whatever the case, Moose is in the ring, grabbed the microphone, said he doesn't care anymore about what he does. He attacks Rockwell some more. Like the other week, he attacked a jobber just to say, like, he did this awesome promo. I should say, like, he's saying that how he is Mr. Impact Wrestling, how he has been the constant in Impact for years now, and he asked simply last week, where are your, like, last 3 former world champions? They're not here. That's exactly the point. Like, you had Johnny Impact, you have Pentagon, you have Austin Aries, like, they're gone. And even Brian Cage is maybe, I don't know, we'll touch on Brian Cage in a second, but yeah, Moose is on the hunt to make a name for himself, and throughout all of this, while he's attacking Stone Rockwell, someone's music hits, Falabar comes out, and Moose goes right into attack him once. It comes into the ring, and this leads to an impromptu match. He actually says, "Let's have a match." And I call this a match. Again, this was a quick 1 minute match. Bar jumps off the rope, squashes Moose, goes for the cover, beats Moose, proving his point of why he came down to the ring in the first place, just to shut him up. Backstage, Moose is furious, saying like, "Oh, I never agreed to this match, da da da," and just like, this was a bad idea. If they're going to lead to a match with Falabar and Moose, like, these are two big boys that I want the best, nothing but the best for in Impact Wrestling moving forward. But Moose, again, he has momentum, and then they treat him like a bumbling idiot, and he acts like a bumbling idiot. It's a bizarre thing. It's like, think of all the weird WWE storyline decisions, and it's like, if they were projected onto one character in an Impact Wrestling ring, Moose. That's the best description I can find that I can think of to describe Moose's character, and how they try and make him this big. Like, he beat RVD, and like, granted, RVD is nowhere near his prime anymore, but the message is still the same. You beat a former Impact World Champion, and he's on the hunt. And now he's just lost to Falabar, and they're gonna have maybe a match at Bound for Glory, where Moose might win again. I don't know where it's going. I wish nothing but the best for both men involved, but man, it just did not work for me. This quick 60-second squash. It's just literally since Falabar won by squashing him off the top rope. Back from the break, so after the Moose promo, of course, we have the intergender match that we were leading up to. Madman Fulton, accompanied by Sami Callihan, versus Tessa Blanchard. Fulton, I did love this. Like, this is one of the best highlights for this episode. So again, this match didn't last any more than 5 minutes. And I love the dynamics, like, size-wise, strength-wise. Like, it is an intergender match, but it's a big, like, you're facing a monster in Madman Fulton, and just the back and forth, the ring psychology there was beautiful. Callahan, throughout the match, when he's like, he choke slammed her, like, he tossed it all around the ring, saying, "This is what happens when you get in the ring with a monster." And everyone's calling Callahan a piece of shit, and just like, he's playing his role to perfection. But yeah, it didn't last long. It did not last long at all. Like, Blanchard slapped Fulton in the face. Like, he picked her up for a bear hug. She's not giving up. She's resilient. She's proving she is the undeniable leader of Impact Wrestling right now. Tried to break the hold a few times, throwing a few hits to the back of his head. She pulled on some of his dreadlocks, which shocked him greatly, because only Sami can do that. That's how Sami controls him. Clearly, there's like some conditioning from the OVE compound to how they actually control Madman. After that, Blanchard pulled off a DDT, and then a few forearms to the face. Callahan grabbed a chair and told Fulton just to kill her. Like, this is like a nitpick thing, but the fact that Callahan motivates Madman by slapping him, like, shouldn't that be a disqualification? Like, the fact that he is, in a sense, beating up someone in the ring, it's semantics. It's not the intention, but just like, if it's in front of the referee, really, he should be like, yeah, referee's discretion. Sorry, I'm getting off in a tangent there. But after that, so he's saying to kill Tessa, and then who comes out but Tommy Dreamer, the answer for Impact Wrestling's storyline problems all the time. They can't think of something to do. They can't think of a mystery opponent. Add in Tommy Dreamer. You want to try and put someone over, get him to invoke the spirit of ECW. Bring out Tommy Dreamer, saying that you are the future. You remind me of myself when I was in ECW and all this shit. But Tommy comes down to the ring, helps out Tessa, despite the fact that she said she wanted to do this on her own. Like, you know, she doesn't need anyone's help. She wants to lose by herself if that's what's going to happen. But nope, Tommy comes out to the ring with a kendo stick. I love how Tommy dropped the kendo stick. It kind of, it fell off the ring ropes, and then it landed into Tessa's arms. It was it looked like an accident, and I hope it was an accident because it was timed really well. And then Tessa went to town on Madman, just beat him the crap out of him with the kendo stick. And then Madman's out of the ring. Blanchard helps Dreamer get out of it by hitting Fulton. Yeah. And Callahan, like, he grabs Fulton by the dreadlocks and tells him to leave. So, winner, I don't know who won. I would imagine, because Tommy actually hit Madman first, your winner by DQ, it's Madman Fulton. But otherwise, if the ref didn't count that properly, then Tessa won by count out. I feel like Madman won. It wasn't very clear, as you can tell, the whole idea. So they kind of bailed out on this big, like, psychopath intergender wrestling match. They bailed on it completely. It was a nice effort. Didn't need Tommy Dreamer. He could have came out afterwards, but yeah. What can you do about that? We'll keep going on. Michael Elgin, he's talked about Rhino interference in his match with Brian Cage last week. He threatens that Rhino's time in Impact will be a short stay. Even if it's a short stay, Rhino is back wrestling, which there is nothing bad about that. Like, granted, it's a ECW original taking the spot of a new up-and-coming star, but man, like, after the matches I've seen of Rhino in Impact already, I'm just excited that he's back in it. So backstage, you have a newcomer is in the Knockouts locker room. Kiera Hogan and Madison Rain are trying to introduce themselves and trying to punk her out, and the best frenemies are just bickering amongst themselves, bickering with the newcomer. She looked like Ruby Riott without all the tattoos. I don't know who it was. Maybe new girl on the block. That's what we should take from all this. We had an Impact Plus moment of the week. It was the Motor City Machine Guns versus Generation Me. You guys might know them as the Young Bucks. Like, they've had an okay career so far. Like, it's not like they're executive vice presidents in one of the biggest companies in 2019 moving forward. Like, but these are the early years. This went for far longer. So in the tapings, after about 3 or 4 matches of just squash matches that have only gone for like 5 minutes at most, you had the Impact Plus moment, which went for about 15 minutes. And granted, this is one of my favorite matches of all the Bound for Glories, the Machine Guns versus the Young Bucks, because there was no give in that match. Like, everything was going a mile a minute. It was one of the most perfectly timed. It's one of the best matches that TNA's ever put on. I question why. Like, I see the Impact Plus moments. They should be highlighting some of the stars on the current roster rather than two tag teams that are not going to be a part of Bound for Glory, like, at all. Like, you have Chris Sabin, who's still injured, Alex Riley, who has come out of retirement for Ring of Honor, but he's doing a singles thing. Like, the Young Bucks are doing AEW. There's no way at all that they could even muster these guys coming back. So that really is just to show the quality content from Impact Plus and what they can expect from Bound for Glory, which is the next big pay-per-view coming up in October. I think October 10th. It's a double-edged sword. So I'm glad that they showed this match because it's one of the best matches that TNA ever put on. I just wish that they would use the Impact Plus moment to highlight some of the stars they have on their roster now, to kind of not rely on the nostalgia, not rely on the history of TNA. And their Impact is far different to what TNA is. It's a far cry from what has happened in the past 4 or 5 years. And like this, and that match was in 2010 as well. Like, there's a lot that's happened in that company since then. They don't need to focus on the TNA moments from that far away. They could have focused on a Rhino match. I would have loved to see, like, show Rhino winning the world title. That would have been far better, to actually show the gauntlet that he went through to win the NWO World Championship before it became the TNA World title. Stuff like that. Like, I'm hoping that maybe in the next coming weeks they'll do that. Speaking of Rhino, he is outside and he announces that he is back to do what he wants, when he wants. He is stealing my lines, and whenever he wants. He's stealing my lines. He's putting everyone on notice. He's back. He did not want to, just as I mentioned before, sit at the catering table and not wrestle. He wants to rip apart anyone who stands in his way. This is he just wants to beat the crap out of people. And immediately, you're just like, I'm invested. I'm in. Love to see what's happening here. Main event time, ladies and gentlemen. The Rascals, Trey and Dez. Like, I should mention, this is an interesting thing. So you had Wentz in the X Division title contendership match at the start. And usually you have Wentz and Dez as the tag team and Trey as the singles guy. But now it's Trey and Dez representing the Rascals in this main event versus the North for the tag titles. Very interesting kind of play. Like, they didn't have any promos to explain the change up. It just happened that way. I can't explain it, but it might be to kind of squash the storyline of Trey saying, like, you guys are losing for the team. I'm going to win us the tag titles because I could have won them. Like, for those of you guys who don't know, the North actually beat Trey, was the one who took the pin in this match. Now this, as I mentioned, you had about 3 or 4 matches, less than 5 minutes. This one went for 20 minutes. This was a tag team spectacle. The North, long may they frickin' reign. Amazing main event. Like, right from the jump, you had Josh Alexander power slam both members of the Rascals, like, off the top rope. You had so much tag team combinations. I cannot praise this main event enough. If they had to invest their time in one match on this entire episode, they invested in the right one. The North gratefully pick up the win, and after, like, I would lose my mind going through half the shit that these guys did. Like, Trey worked really well with Dez, but again, he took the pinfall. Your winners and still the tag team champions. After the match, the North were heading backstage. They get jumped by Ortiz out of nowhere, hits him with the lid of a trash can. The North, of course, they use the numbers game to fight back, and even though the North thought they had the upper hand, out comes Darga, accompanied by Conan, makes them scurry away, and Ortiz may have accepted now that Darga is on his side, and this new iteration of LAX. So maybe Darga is now officially a part of LAX. We'll see how long this lasts. I'm a bit confused, but that was Impact Wrestling for this week. A very confusing, there's a couple of confusing things throughout this episode, but man, when you look at it as a whole, it was one of the best episodes of Impact they've done this year. I cannot praise the main event enough between the North and the Rascals. Again, they are pushing the North to the moon, and rightfully so, because they are going to lead Impact through whatever comes their way throughout the rest of the year. Now, before we get into the other big Impact exclusive events, the Unbreakable and Starstruck events, let's cut to Greg with our sponsors.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, Outbreak Nutrition. Outbreak Nutrition are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at Outbreak Nutrition. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNUTRITION.com. Enter the code B+ at checkout. Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B+ podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month, up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today.
And we are back, guys, kicking things off with Impact Plus's exclusive event, Unbreakable, where they crowned a new number one contender between Tessa Blanchard and Sami Callihan. I'll be talking about that. I'll be talking about Starstruck. There's a lot of Impact Wrestling to get through. A lot of it. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I don't usually talk about Impact Wrestling for this long, but I will try and get through as much of it as I can and try and give you guys all the big details that came out of this. Now, Unbreakable, I just finished watching this. This is about 3 hours worth of wrestling. And the Impact Plus events, the thing is, they're usually a big dip in quality from the TV shows, the weekly taped TV shows in production. Like, the audio messes up, you don't hear the fans properly, the commentary is, like, too loud sometimes, there's, like, glitches, and it comes off really $5 wrestling standard. It doesn't come off really well at all in a lot of ways, and like and usually in that case I usually just give the results from the Impact Plus events so far, right? But I wanted to sit down and go through every, like, despite the audio issues or editing issues, I wanted to sit down and watch all of this one, not only for the main event where we crowned a new number one contender, but there was so much going on in this one because we had Rhino's first match with Impact Wrestling. You had Scott Steiner in the 6-man tag, which I'll get to in a second. You had, again, the North main eventing another Impact Plus exclusive show. You had so much in this whole thing, and it was, like, honestly, from all the ones I've watched, I think this was the best Impact Plus exclusive they have actually done to date. I shit you not, I think it's amazing what they have put on with this. So this was in Santa Ana, California, and right from the get-go, this was, like, you had some audio issues. So we had the first match, which was Peter Avalon and Ray Rosas defeating Chris Bay and Watts. So these guys aren't part of the Impact Wrestling roster. They're local talent, champion wrestling from Hollywood. Yeah. I think about 10 minutes in, that's when the commentary actually woke up, and that's when it actually synced in with the wrestling. Again, audio issues. So once you got over that match, which unfortunately is sad to say, it was all right. Peter Avalon, he's destined for things in the future with AEW and the Librarian. Shh, don't tell anyone. So once they got through that match, really they got their shit together from that point on. So after that match, you had an Impact X Division title scramble. So Jake Christ faced off against Ace Austin, Adrian Quest, Danny Limelight, and Trey of the Rascals. Fatal 5-way match for the X Division Championship. Jake Christ won. So again, what we're used to with Impact Wrestling, a big 5-man, 6-man X Division, like, slugfest, like, spots galore, high flying, every which way. Loved it. Jake Christ, understandably, picked up the victory. And you have, before this, of course, you had an OVE promo. So only Sami Callihan and Jake Christ are there for the Unbreakable event. So Madman and Jake's brother are not there in attendance. And the back and forth is just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. And Jake is actually offering to help out Sammy in the main event, and Sammy's saying, I don't want you anywhere near the main event. I want to defeat Tessa on my own. I don't need you to win. Right? So keep that in mind for what's happening later on. And yeah, Jake is the golden draw, I should say. He wants to be known as the golden draw from now on, from the taping from last week as well. Like, his confidence is, he's the captain of confidence right now. I'm loving it. But yeah, and he's just come off his first title defense. So congratulations to Jake Christ. Could this be the year that Ovi got all the gold? I don't know. We had Madison Rayne defeat Ayoka Mahara, another local. This match, it was okay. Again, I say it all the time. With Josh Matthews and Don Callis, like they can't keep their shit together when they're talking about Madison Rayne. Like, just like, oh, Madison is, don't tell anyone, she's actually like married to Josh Matthews, but we'll try and keep it as subtle as we can. You masters of subtlety, it's not working. Please stop. Someone just mute Josh Matthews' mic when he is commentating for his wife. It doesn't come off well. It does not come off well, unfortunately. But yeah, Madison Rayne tried to... It was a nice little match that they had. You had Michael Elgin defeat Eddie Edwards. Again, I was looking for some kind of character changes here between, like, with Eddie Edwards. Like, some kind of little... Like, this should be... The Impact Plus events, you would think they're non-canon, but the fact that you have a winner for the number one contendership for the world title makes you think that some of this should be at least carry forward. Like, if the North can win the tag titles in Impact Plus exclusive event, then you would think that these events should be canon in some way, right? And I was looking at Eddie, and I was just trying to think, like, are you getting crazier? Are you getting more unhinged, right? And granted, he had to step it up a level to face off against Michael Elgin. Like, the amount of chops that he did compared to the amount of forearms that Elgin did, like, they brought it to each other. They did all they could do, but I didn't see any difference in Eddie, and I want to see something different. It's not happening. I am starting to worry about the direction they're going with Eddie Edwards. I'm hoping, like, if you beat Killer Cross, there should be some kind of dramatic change to a character, right? And at the moment, I'm not seeing it, but maybe the other tapings will shed some light on that down the line. Regardless, Michael Elgin, the unbreakable Michael Elgin, after the name of the pay-per-view, he wins. Afterwards, my favorite match on this entire thing, which is saying something because there are a lot of good matches in this. You have Little Petey Pump, Petey Williams, Thick Mama Pump, Jordan Grace, and Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. He is back in Impact Wrestling, and they face off against the, I'll get the names right, Dick Meyer, Jervis Cottonbelly. If you know, in the indies, he's this luchador with this really meme-like mask. He's faced off against Orange Cassidy a few times. Like, there's a video of Jervis trying to put Orange Cassidy to sleep. Like, it's that guy. It's that luchador. And Ryan Taylor, I believe the group was called Razzmatazz, which, yeah, Jervis was hilarious. I'll get to him. But Scott Steiner, did a promo. He's basically a walking meme. He's basically a walking meme at this point. It's hilarious. He's talking about people talking shit about him online, and that stuff doesn't mean much. But Steiner Mass, that's forever, man. That's forever. Like, I shit you not. He's doing another Steiner Mass promo. He's like, my 141 and 2% chance of winning is only amplified by Petey Williams, one of the biggest cruiserweights ever, at his percentage chance. That means that we're going to win this match. And then, you can take this with a grain of salt. Like, Scott Steiner's like, my X factor in Jordan Grace, right? And he's saying, like, every man, like, this is Scott Steiner's words, every man thinks about the opposite sex 24/7. Smell that in the air, besides the marijuana, which is legal here. Like, so you smell the poontang, and like smell the ladies in the air, and like he was being creepy, and he slapped Jordan Grace on the ass, and just like, okay. Jordan Grace took it with a grain of salt. She was like, whatever, fair play. Like, it was weird. It was. What can you say about Scott Steiner at this point that hasn't already been said? He's just a bizarre, angry man. He's a walking meme, and the message was clear. It was great to see all three members just in the driver's seat and doing what they do best. I love Jervis was the highlight of this entire match. How he is trying to trying to be friends with Jordan Grace, and how he is selling Scott Steiner's offense. Just the fact that Scott Steiner looked at him the wrong way, and then he did a bump. It was great. I absolutely loved it. Petey Williams is trying to do a lot of Scott Steiner. Little Petey pump is in full display here. The other team, yeah, they had some highlight moments, but they were just cannon fodder for the pumps. They were just cannon fodder. The match ended with all three doing Steiner recliners. But the match ended before that. Scott Steiner, I should remind you guys, he just turned 57 a couple days ago, right? He did a Frankensteiner. He's 57, and I thought he was long past that now. Like, he's lost a lot of mass. He's not Big Papa Pump anymore, really, right? You can see a lot of, like, back fat and stuff, and granted, of course, like, he's getting older, and he's slowed down a lot. But the fact that he can still do a freaking Frankensteiner at 57 years old, like, usually he saves that for very special occasions. And this one, yeah, this was the very special occasion. The crowd were going off, and then triple Steiner recliners, all three of the other team tapped out. And yeah, Scott Steiner, Petey Williams, Jordan Grace are the winners. Scott Steiner once again slapped Jordan Grace on the ass. I didn't like it. I would have much rather, like, I would have accepted it better if Jordan slapped him on the ass, just to kind of give that back and forth there. But again, she didn't mind. All in all, it was just a fun match. Again, walking meme Scott Steiner. I was really worried that he was returning to Impact, but the fact that they brought in Little Petey Pump and Thick Mama Pump, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And you guys should really check it out. Again, this is one of the best Impact Plus exclusive events they have done to date. Yeah, I cannot praise it enough. Once you get past the first match and the audio issues throughout, like, they're not terrible, but they're noticeable in a lot of ways. You had the Knockouts title match between Jessica Havoc and Taya Valkyrie. This I didn't like. So this is a storyline in the tapings as well, where Taya's trying to ask Rosemary once again for protection from Havoc, right? And like, the fact that the whole build-up for that on the tapings is that they're going to face off again on the tapings, but if you're having that match on the Impact Plus exclusive event, you're just bringing it to us early, even though it's pre-taped. Like, timelines with taping and live events can get confusing, but my point is the fact that you're making this match a very throwaway thing. It doesn't come off really well, and it should be this big thing. So Taya comes out flanked by Johnny Bravo, and it was an entertaining match for the most part. Taya's claiming that Jessica Havoc is a wannabe Taya Valkyrie from like 4 years ago, which I don't know if that was a veiled shot at Seth Rollins. I don't know. I feel like it was just a snide little comment, but just the way that wrestling has been these past few weeks, I don't know. Like, everyone's just piling up on Seth Rollins at this point. Like, maybe that's just me. But the winner of this match was Jessica Havoc, but by count out. So she looked to have this match won. Johnny Bravo got involved. he managed to get Taya out of the ring again. So they had the triple threat match where Taya just walked away while Havoc faced off against Madison Rayne, kicked her ass. And again, now she's doing this, so she's being smart, and the title's not gonna. That title wasn't gonna change on an Impact Plus event. At least you don't think. But yeah, the storyline there is again, it fits with her character, but I don't like how it devalues the matches that she's having for the Knockouts title, and it's something that we've seen before. Like, she's faced off against Jessica Havoc at Slammiversary. She's faced off again a few times now. Yeah, I didn't really like it, personally, but at the very least, it's going to give some more momentum for their inevitable title match, which I think is happening next week for the tapings. Unless it's like no DQ or something again, which Taya did great in the Monsters Ball. I don't know. We'll see what happens there, but nevertheless, Taya retains. Next match, Rhino is back in Impact Wrestling. Now, both men do a promo beforehand, where Moose, first off, so Jimmy Jacobs has become like the de facto interviewer at this point. So Melissa Santos, she's gotten married, I should say, Mazel Tov to Melissa Santos and Brian Cage. I think it was last week before. They're now married. But the whole thing with Brian Cage, they're again going for this angle where he is maybe injured, maybe not, after the street fight with Michael Elgin, which I don't like. They're going back to the well with that one, because we went to all this trouble of, you had the real life drama of him actually getting injured at I can't remember the name of the pay-per-view off the top of my head, Rebellion, I think, but when he finally won the title off Johnny Impact, only to have injured his back during that match, there was some real stuff there mixed with storyline, which was great. And then Brian Cage coming back, proving that he is the Machine, and like you had that great visual of him being on the stretcher, but he comes off with the neck breaks, tears it off, beats the crap out of Michael Elgin. We've gone through all that, and now they're trying to make us think that, despite him being the Machine, he might be injured, he might have to vacate the belt, he might have to do something or other, which they'll clear up next week. Really, I'm hoping that this storyline is just an excuse for them to, like, Brian Cage wanted to go on his honeymoon. Like, that's what I'm really hoping that the real life reason is. But if it's some stupid storyline thing where, like, they're trying to make him seem weaker than he is, they're kind of undervaluing what they've done for the past month. It doesn't track with me. I don't like it. But then you have so Melissa Santos is not there. Jimmy Jacobs has become the de facto interviewer, which I prefer, because I would much rather him than Rolando Menendez. So, and Moose actually calls him out on this, saying like, "Where is Melissa?" And he's saying like, "She's with her husband. You'll do for now." It's like, despite now they're even flat out saying that Melissa and Brian Cage are, that they said fiance, but they're not married yet in the wrestling world, which, okay. I don't know why they're leaving that open, but there's that. Moose is saying that it's another ECW original coming back to Impact, trying to take away, like, the spots from an up-and-comer like him, which, valid argument. And it's the no jackhammer needed spear versus the gore in this one. Now, Rhino's promo, right from the get-go, like, he was censored during the Impact taping, where he let off a few F-bombs and stuff, and he got beeped and stuff. But in this one, he let loose. It was a very similar promo, but it was just like, he let the flirkins fly, man. He was off the wall. And he's making fun of the no jackhammer needed spear. Well, I've got the no flirkins given gore. It's like, damn, you are good. He's great. It's good to see him back in wrestling. So in this match itself, like I said, the spear versus the gore, the referee got knocked out halfway through. Moose did his spear, and then he started hitting Rhino with a chair. Rhino started powering out. He did the gore. The referee woke up in time. 1, 2, 3. Rhino has won his first match back in an Impact Wrestling ring. Of course, we have the tapings to see him officially back. I don't know if it will be a squash match. I hope it's something more becoming of a former world champion. But yeah, Moose once again make himself look like the big dog. Comes off as a bumbling idiot, but at the very least, I'm glad Rhino won, and I'm glad that they're using him well. I'm glad that that's going forward. So this match, I allow Moose to lose, but the other ones so far, not a happy chap. You had the Impact World Tag Team title match. The North defeated Rich Swann, Willie Mack, and Reno Scum. Reno Scum are back in Impact Wrestling ring. We haven't seen them for ages. It's like, wow, where have you been? Adam Thornstowe and Luster the Legend. The Impact Tag Team division has missed you, and I'm glad that we're not having the same tag teams over and over, even on the Impact Plus events, that they're bringing out some new competition for these guys. One of the most high flying match on the entire card, which is saying something given the X Division scramble at the start. The North won, and I actually love how they did this. So Reno Scum had done like a big buckle bomb to Rich Swann and Willie Mack. Josh Alexander was on the apron right next to them. He tagged himself in, then he pretended that he was still on the outside, like out of it, like he was passed out or whatever. So they were doing all their tag team moves to Willie Mack and Rich Swann, and they're going for the pinfall, but the referee's like, no, he's not a legal man. What? Who is? Boom! Right into a super kick by Ethan Page. The North get back on top. Once again, the North win. They retain their tag team titles. I have nothing but praise to talk about the North. Like, if nothing else, if you get an Impact Plus subscription, just watch the North matches, man. They are something else. Then you have the big last match here. The number one contendership for the world title. Tessa Blanchard versus Sami Callihan. And everyone was thinking that they're actually going to do it. Tessa is actually going to be the intergender number one contender for the world championship. She's going to face Brian Cage. No, that didn't happen. Your new number one contender, Sami Callihan. Now, there are a lot of things to unpack here. Sami is very deserving. Sami is very, very deserving of being the number one contender. I do hope that this is the year that OVE get all the gold. I've noticed that Dave Christ has taken a back seat in wrestling right now, so if he's going to be a tag team champion with Madman, at least Madman can take the brunt if there's like an injury there, but this is bizarre. So, again, like, they're trying to make Tessa seem like this big, their rising star, like they're the main attraction for their roster, like male or female, like she can kick everyone's ass. And they are the only promotion that could maybe have had this intergender world title match, and they didn't do it. Now, granted, they've been bigging her up for the past few weeks, like for a month or so now, with after Slammiversary and everything else. They have done their job so far. I don't know where they're gonna go from here, because you've teased us with this world title match, and if it's not gonna happen now, like, I think maybe they could add her to the world title match at Bound for Glory. It would feel very weird and forced how they've done it. There are a lot of elements still at play here, so I'm not quite sure what to go with. But as for the match itself, it was awesome. It was absolutely class. For a good minute, both wrestlers did nothing, and they just stared at each other. It was just a stare down for a solid minute, and most promotions wouldn't do that. They would just have them like, "What are you doing? Start the match right now." But it worked so well. It worked so well with the characters, and then they started circling each other. Sami did the thumbs up, thumbs down. Tessa just gave him the bird. They were right into it. Callahan is being disgusting as always. He worked Blanchard's leg for most of the match, right? Blanchard would make a comeback, but her legs were starting to falter throughout most of it, where she couldn't lift up Sammy over her shoulders. Like right from the start, though, she did a cutter. She did a spear through the ropes, like from the entrance ramp. It was beautiful, beautiful how she did it. But yeah, after the beatdown from Sammy, she was a bit worse for wear. She finally made a comeback. She hit 3 magnums in a row, one from standing position, one from the second rope, and then the final one from the top rope. Looked like she was going to win, but then Jake Crist comes out, distracts the referee, allowing Callahan to recover and regain the advantage. He did a pile driver, right? And actually, I lie. So what happened was, while he was distracting the referee, Sammy hit Tessa with the X Division title. She kicked out, and then Sammy then had to do the pile driver to put away Tessa. So it took all of that to put away Tessa. So she came off once again, despite it being in victory, she came off looking like a champion and looking like the best thing in the whole entire roster. After the match, when it looked like Sammy and Jake were going to add insult to injury, once again, Tommy Dreamer comes out to break up the OVE attack and cuts a promo on how great Tessa is, and no joke says, "You have the heart and spirit of ECW in you." And like he's using that card so many times, like, stop it, Tommy. Just freaking stop it. You can put over someone without mentioning ECW every 5 seconds. It does not work. And it's been played so many times now. And it was a great promo that he did, like just telling her to get her ass up. Like, please, sir, may I have another? Like, Tessa, please, may I have another Sir Blanchard? Get your ass up. And prove to these people why they cheer you, why they love you. It was a great promo. I just wish he didn't say that stupid shit about her being the heart, like the new heart of ECW and everything else. And like, you're ruining it, Tommy. You're ruining it for me. It shows that they still have all these high hopes for Tessa Blanchard moving forward. I'm very excited for it. I don't know where they're going to go from here. Now, like, granted, so Sammy has earned a number 1 contendership. This doesn't necessarily mean it's at Bound for Glory, because Bound for Glory is in October. We've still got a lot more tapings before that. Maybe it will be at one of the tapings. I don't know. And then they have to determine a new number 1 contender, maybe on another Impact Plus event, which would be a very smart move. And then maybe that would be a triple threat. Like, they dangled this, and again, they're trying to they're realizing they've made the promo, the call to arms for women's wrestling. Like, they realize what they have on their hands here. If they don't include Tessa in there somewhere, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, it would make sense maybe to have Sammy and Tessa in a triple threat with Brian Cage. I think that would work well. It's all up in the air, but Sammy is very, very deserving. I don't know where he's going to go from here. If he is indeed going to win the world title, I hope, because he is the workhorse of that entire division. Like, Moose is getting up there. But yeah, Sammy he's just great. He's absolutely great. And if anyone was going to defeat Brian Cage, if it's not going to be Tessa, yeah, give it to Callahan. OVE are taking over. Yeah, I absolutely love it. We have Starstruck as well, ladies and gentlemen. I'll just briefly glance over this because there's been a lot of wrestling this week. We had Triple Mania just finished, which is phenomenal. It's just, there's so much to unpack from this entire thing, but I'll try and get through it all. This is Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. You had Andy Brown, which is the Hollywood Heritage Champion. He defeated Adrian Quest to retain his title. You had Havoc defeat Viva Van, accompanied by Johnny Bravo. And then Havoc once again defeated Johnny Bravo in a quick squash match. It just happened like that. Reno Scum were back. They defeated the Rock Nest Monsters. I'm hoping Reno Scum are back now. There's one more tag team for the roster. I'm hoping it's not just for the Impact Plus exclusive event. Reno Scum, like, even though they're not being used, I can't remember, they had the storyline with Falabar. That's right, Falabar, and like that kind of faltered after KM left, and then he joined Scarlett, and Scarlett left. But Reno Scum are hopefully back now. They need another tag team to mix things up a little. And if people aren't watching Impact Plus, it'll make things more exciting for people on the tapings, which more people should be watching Impact Wrestling because they need to. They definitely need to in these times. Peter Avalon defeated Jordan Clearwater. You had Jordan Grace defeat Madison Rain. Once again, the X Division Championship was on the line. Jake Chris defeated Trey and Ace Austin. This was a triple threat this time, the big fatal 5-way or 6-way or whatever you want to think of it. Sammy Callahan defeated Willie Mack. Eddie Edwards defeated Moose, which is a nice little callback from the... So you had Sammy and Willie Mack, and then you had Eddie Moose, of course, from the mashup tournament, how they were friends, and then they were back to being enemies and stuff. It was all over the place. Once again, Michael Elgin defeated Rich Swann. If you loved their match from the tapings, this one is just as good as that one. And again, it ended. The North defeated Rhino and Tommy Dreamer this time. So, right result. Again, we don't have a tag team partner for Rhino. Just get Tommy Dreamer. He's the answer for everything in Impact Wrestling. Whether we like it or not, Tommy Dreamer is there to stay in a lot of ways. He's not overbearing. It's just obvious how, like, if they don't have an answer to something, just bring in Tommy Dreamer. He'll make it right. Even if people realize it doesn't make sense. ECW. Shut up, Tommy. That was Impact Wrestling this week. A lot of Impact Wrestling to go through. Impact, they're doing such good work, and it sucks because I'll end on the news from AXS TV, because they're still in talks about a new TV deal, and like it was last week they've signed a deal again with Twitch, which is a great thing. Like, they're doing great things on Twitch, but this whole debacle with AXS, it's just it's all over the place. Like, the on again, off again relationships they have on TV are just mind boggling, because it's not fair on the talent. It's not fair on all the people that are working so hard to make Impact Wrestling one of the best products out there, because it is becoming one of the best products out there. And once AEW start up, man, they need to really get their shit together, because it will just be WWE versus AEW, and people will forget about, they'll forget about Ring of Honor, they'll forget about Impact, they'll forget about MLW and all these other ones until they get to that point where they make you remember, they remind you just how good the other shows are as well. I just hope the AXS Impact story is just, there's so much twists and turns, right? It was even suggested at some point that the promotion would actually purchase the network, which, like, this is all according to Dave Meltzer, right, of the newsletter. Like, that all these companies have non-disclosure agreements, so we can't really extrapolate much more information based on what we have. But they've had, after the disasters of the wrong episode airing one week, or splitting the broadcast into chunks, right, with only the first downloading for thousands of viewers, after missing the main event of one, like the Willie Mack Rich Swann match, where it was one of the best matches of the year. Like, there's clearly the main thing is for them to get off Pursuit. That's the main goal, right? And hopefully they can organize a deal with AXS to be a part of actual their network rather than Pursuit. Man, like, it just sucks because they're going through all these great changes on the show, but the actual network itself is just doing them wrong each and every time. But if you stayed with me throughout this entire podcast, you'll have seen that this is actually a great time to be an Impact Wrestling fan, and you should be promoting this to everybody of the great work that they are doing with their promotion, with their talent, and it's all on the up, man. It's all on the up. That was Impact Wrestling, ladies and gentlemen. I'll leave that there. If you want to follow me on all the socials, I'm at Mr Myster1ous with a 1 and 7 I. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Grapple. Hit me up. Let me know what you thought about Unbreakable, Starstruck, and the latest episode of Impact Wrestling. If you want to follow us here collectively on the B+, because we're a great bunch, if I do say so myself, we are at the B+ Wrestle on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit, and the B+ Wrestling everywhere else. And remember, guys, we have our Patreon. Any amount you could donate would be greatly appreciated, so we can keep giving you all what you want, when you want. Rhino, don't take my phrases. To showcase the very best of Australian wrestling, and to keep you guys up to date on all the wrestling from around the globe. Like, share, subscribe, hit that 5-star review. This has been the Impact Zone, and I'll see you later.